Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Twisted Talk. Now, today is a very, very special one because I'm joined by two amazing people, both alumni of Twist 5 and Twisted Challenge, but they are here for a far more important reason. Here we have the current host of The Pyramid, Ava, the current host of The Isle, Saturn, and both are hosting the huge project of the network. Hi, guys.
Hi, Ivy. Thanks for having us. We're both super excited to be here.
Yeah, V, thanks for setting this up. We've been looking for some kind of scale to talk about the network for a while, so this will be a fun event.
Yeah, I mean, when I did Pyramid originally, like I saw season one and I already was like, ooh, this is fun. And then when I played it, I was like, ooh, this is fun. Um, and then I, of course, played in the community. And when Network got made, I got really intrigued. And obviously, with the whole crypt being made, I was like, hey, I've been hosting these podcasts. Why not out to two people who are literally doing what Twisted is trying to do, but better?
Oh, I wouldn't say all that.
No, but generally, what you guys have been doing has been amazing. Quality wise, I feel like everyone can agree who has played the Pyramid or the Isle or now the Network seasons that they have been amazing and been really fun. But we should probably start at the complete beginning, which is the pyramid. So, Saturn, how did you make or get the idea for the pyramid?
All right, so I joined the org community sometime around like the pandemic. It was like a few months into the pandemic, and for a while I was just watching games. I've always loved Survivor, and so that's how I got into it. And around it was around this time 2 years ago, I decided I wanted to create my own thing, and I knew that I wanted to do something that was kind of unique. It was something that hadn't been seen before. And the way I got to the pyramid is I started developing this format that changed, and then I started calling those changes floors. And then the way I got to the name of the pyramid is I was down to either that or the tower, and I just liked how the pyramid sounded better.
I mean, it does sound quite epic, and I think that's also when I started playing Orcs, if I'm correct, like right at like the beginning of the pandemic, or like right before the pandemic, one or the other.
Yeah.
Um, and I remember seeing season one, and my friend Zach and I we were like, "Ooh, maybe we should do it." And ultimately, we didn't do it because I got busy and Zach got busy. Um, but we both were like, "Oh, this is intriguing. This is fun." What do you think has made it so successful?
Um, I think it was able to get to where it was today. It was able to get to where it is today because I said it is a unique thing. You know, it's something that people haven't seen on a show before. I get told all the time that the graphics helped for sure. The format. I knew going into it that I wanted to create a strong community with the game as well. So even with the first season, I invested in a lot of things like a record keeping thing. We had the audience champion in season one, which is uh, basically the audience gets to vote in someone that gets a chance to earn safety for themselves. So people in the server, even if they weren't playing the game, they could still have like some kind of involvement in the game. Because I figured that would help grow with the server.
I mean, I definitely having that like spectator engagement from the beginning is going to help grow the community, which this is where you come in, Ava. How did you get into the pyramid?
Yeah, I joined the org community in like August of 2022. I started with challenge games. That's my favorite reality show, probably besides Big Brother. And I saw an ad posting for season 3, the Midnight Gala, and I was like, "Oh, this looks kind of cool." Like, I think Saturn says it really well. The graphics are so intriguing. He does such a good job, and so I ended up applying. It was only my third org ever, so I was in way over my head, but thankfully I applied. Ended up playing season 3, got taken out in a pretty epic way by our lovely question mark twist that we have every season. Um, and then ended up asking Saturn if I could join prod for season 4. Um, Helped a little bit with that, but wasn't super active to be honest. And then season 5 rolled around, All Stars, and then from there, I was trying to pinpoint kind of where Saturn and I started like chatting about future seasons and stuff, but I think it just came really naturally to us. And then season 6 was kind of the kickstart of Saturn and I being more, for lack of a better term, business partners. We started planning season 6 together while I was playing season 5, and then from there just snowballed into us never being able to talk about anything without wanting to plan more pyramid seasons and other org formats. So that's kind of the brief overview of how I inserted myself into this crazy world.
I mean, season 6 is objectively the best season. I think we can all agree on that one. It's
No
not because I
bias, of
played.
course. Right.
Um, but no, I think my main reason of why I got so into Pyramid and wanting to play again once I got eliminated was the twists, the way it was run. Like, even though I hated the question mark twist because it like revealed all of the like, oh wait, no, it wasn't the question mark twist. I think it was like the auction. I forgot what happened, but like with the whole 101s being made public, I was like, oh fuck this. And I really was not a fan. But like with the whole like map thing that we had where you could go through your adventure and it had like boss battles, and even though the anonymous twist maybe didn't go as well as you'd wanted, it also had a pretty fun intrigue at the end. And season 6, I feel like even though I didn't know as much from the previous season, I tried to expect it a little bit. I do feel like it did shift where things would end up. Um, Now, before we go into more behind the scenes, Ava, this is more for you specifically.
Mhm.
What were some of your like favorite moments from the seasons you played?
Oh my gosh. Season 3 was a really long time ago. It was like a year and a half ago. Um, and as we've talked about so many times in the community, really wasn't the best season in terms of our cast. Um, but my biggest takeaway from season 3 is definitely our super devoted community members now. Me, Kevin, Renee, Cornbread, Brandon, Karen. So sorry if I'm forgetting anybody else, but I think that's like the core group. Um, and we've all stayed pretty close since then, which I haven't really had in any other community. So that's great. Kevin's like one of my great friends, not even just on Discord, just like in general. I'm going to visit him in a few months, so that's exciting. Um, that's definitely like my favorite takeaway from season 3. And season 5 was just the most fun I've ever had playing a game ever. It's not really comparable at all. Um, got to kind of be a villain for the first time, even though some people might not think I was. But it was a lot of fun. Got to play with a lot of new people, people that I had hosted in season 4. Um, got to lead the biggest blindside in pyramid history against one of my very dear friends, Renee. So that was a lot of fun for me. Maybe not so much for her, but the gameplay was just so elevated. Everyone was there and playing to win. So season 5 was just, I would replay that season again and again and again. And the community has seen how annoying that cast is, as we just talk about all the time. And it's crazy to think that that was a year ago. So those are definitely some big takeaways as a player in the pyramid, even though it's been a while.
And Saturn, what are like some of your favorite moments from the seasons that you hosted before you left?
Ooh, favorite moments. Um,
Sending Ava her casting letter is probably up there.
well, I guess where I'll start is I'll jump back to let's go season 2. Just the story of Mike and Waffles. Like this couple, they secretly joined the game together. I didn't even know that they were a couple when they applied. Like I found out on the first day. And it turns out one other person, I believe, on the cast knew that they were a couple, and he was voted out on the second eviction. And he leaves the game telling everybody that there's a couple playing, and they managed to get through the entire game together. Waffles handling most of like the social, game, and then Mike was making some of like the big flashy moves at the end, and then right before the end, they tell Roxy before she goes to the jury that they were a couple, which didn't result very well for them in the jury. Some people were upset, but still, that's got to be my favorite story that I've ever gotten to host. Um, Maybe some more like specific moments, like single moments. We could take Gentu playing the Shield in season 4. He had received that from Bolivia earlier in the season. He I can't remember if he played the Shield on Kool-Aid or Rio, and then he played the regular Artifact of Safety on the other one. So he saved both of his alliance members, and then with Bolivia's Artifact, they voted him out instead. So I would say that's probably my favorite like single move.
Oh, that is insane.
Yeah,
I didn't even know that that's how Bolivia got out the first time.
yeah, it was a
Which
big one.
Bolivia getting 6, technically 3 times, is really funny.
So tragic.
It's
But
so tragic, but
666
it's
for Bolivia,
honestly
like
so funny.
very on brand for him.
I mean, also true. Um, Now, are there like any fun behind the scenes moments or like tea that we could know from the pyramid, or things that are like aren't too publicly known?
Hmm. I mean, this upcoming season is definitely the biggest one we've planned since season 5, which was All Stars.
Hmm.
So there is an element of season 9 that we have teased that no one has figured out yet. But I will say it is something that we've done in previous seasons that we are bringing back for this one, and I'm really, really excited about. We're doing it way bigger, way more efficient and better. So that's just little hinty hint if anybody wants to go digging to find out what I'm talking about. But I won't reveal
Okay.
it yet. I have to
Is
keep
there
some
enough didn't
secrets.
is there enough stuff in around that they could find out what it is?
Yeah, one of my teaser images I think was very telling, but
All right.
Let me just go and
nobody.
look now.
Oh,
um,
brief intermission here.
which I mean, we can have it about season 9 now as well. The Kindred Forest, Blood versus Water, which will be the first season since All Stars to truly have fraternities,
Mhm.
even though we had the professors in season 8. What kind of made you decide to do Blood versus Water now?
Um, I think one thing that we've kind of received as feedback is that a lot of our players want that second chance that players got in season 4 when we did fans versus favorites. And so I was kind of trying to figure out a theme that would allow both alumni and newbies one last shot before maybe a full returning season question mark maybe. Um and duos is kind of the one thing that we haven't seen in the pyramid, and so who doesn't love a good blood versus water theme? And I was talking it over with Seared and Brandon, who are two of my production members who've really been super helpful in planning everything for this season, and they were super on board. And then kind of how Saturn and I were when we were hosting the pyramid together, just hop on a VC with them, and all of a sudden it's 5 a.m. and you have your entire season plan laid out for you. And so yeah, I just think it's a good way to get not only Era 2 alumni back to play, but Era 1 alumni who really haven't had a shot to play since their original season.
Cough me. Um, but now that we've kind of talked about the pyramid, I think it's time we talk about the first, you could say, spin-off, the next project, the Isle, which mainly is like Survivor-esque. So, how did the Isle come to be?
Yeah. So this is the real story. I'll make a mark about that before I start talking, but um maybe 3 days before season 6 of the pyramid ended, I was watching Pearl Islands of Survivor, and I went into our production room and I just posted the idea like, what if we hosted a Survivor spinoff, like one series? It was going to be one season
Mhm.
in between season 6 and season 7, just something fun to do. And by the time season 1 even started, I think there was already like 200 people in the server. Like people were
Mhm.
just joining it like crazy. There's a lot of attention toward it, and I just decided to turn it into a full scale project instead of just having to be like how we're doing events in the network right now. But
I don't even think we advertised the server outside of the
no,
pyramid.
no, we didn't.
Yeah, it's just like the Isle is so crazy. I mean, yeah, Saturn and I were on a VC, and I think we just like I think he just was like, I kind of want to host Survivor. And there had been a time, I think during season 4 of the pyramid, where this is so funny to me. He was really thinking about hosting it, and he posted a graphic in our prod chat, and
Oh,
when
I
and it
do
was like
remember that.
and he was gonna call it like Pure Vivor, which is just a
Yeah,
terrible
yeah.
name. And he posted this graphic, and Renee was like, "That is so ugly." And so we kind of just buried that idea. And then we were on a VC. I think we were also kind of planning season 7 because that had a lot of Pearl Islands influence on it as well. And
Mhm,
so he was just like, "Yeah, like let's just host the Isle or Survivor. We can call it the Island." And I was like, "I
mhm,
don't like that name." And he's like, "What about the Isle?" I was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, that's good." And we were like, oh, we can do it in true 39-day fashion, this many people. I go to sleep. I wake up the next morning to this is in pure Saturn fashion. An entire server set up, all the graphics already made, challenges like already being designed. I'm like, what is going on? Who like what is he doing? And then yeah, I think in 2 or 3 days we hit 200 members with no advertising outside of the pyramid, which is just unheard of.
I mean, that is just incredibly not only like amazing, but impressive as well that you did it that quickly. Because I could never, like, the amount of time that it took for me to finish the Twisted Challenger or anything, it takes a while. Because I feel like you need to get into like Drive to do all of the roles and permissions and the thousand channels that you need, and then you also need to be in like the right mood to make like the images. So generally, like incredible work that you've done there. And then my next question probably also makes sense. And why did you decide to kind of retire from the pyramid and fully focus the isle?
well, I don't know if it was really that I wanted to retire from the pyramid. Like I said, just the Isle was getting so much attention. I figured that it should have been like a full scale project. The reason I decided that I was going to host it, and well, I already had Ava. I knew that she had talked about hosting a season of The Pyramid before, and so I figured that season 7 could kind of be like her gateway into hosting The Pyramid. After I saw like how she was handling season 7, I just decided that maybe she could be like the main host, and then we'll see like where it goes from there.
And
It was a
so,
interesting
how
time.
was your how was your experience hosting season 7, Ava? Like, did you really enjoy it, and or did have some troubles?
Yeah, I mean, before I talk about season 7, I think it's important to note in season 6, Saturn kind of started to take a step back, and so where he left off, I would kind of fill in the blank. So I definitely had a bit of an idea of what I was getting myself into, but um yeah, season 7 was interesting. I think preseason my prod team was so kick ass. We were so excited about the season. But I don't think everyone kind of really knew what to expect without Saturn. One thing about Saturn as a host, which you realize very quickly when you play for him and when you're on production with him, he kind of does everything. He doesn't really. It's not that he doesn't let other people do anything. It's just he's so hands on and he's so dedicated that he kind of just takes everything and does it with love. And so realizing all that he did and all that I would have to do was definitely a lot. I was also moving cross country during season 7, so it was tough. it was very reminiscent of season 3. We had a good amount of walks and quits and an expulsion. So, um, yeah, it was hard. I loved the season theme. I loved the artifact that we made. So it was a lot of fun. I'll always have a special spot in my heart for that cast since they were my first cast. So yeah, it was different. I think there were so many nights where I would text Saturn and I was like, "Hey, any chance you do want to come back?" But no, it ended up being great. I think it was a learning experience like anything else you do on your first time is, and I think it just made me better for my season 8 cast who was amazing. I could talk about them forever as well. So, yeah, it was interesting and a learning experience, but no real complaints from my end.
Yeah, I'm a very similar host to Saturn, where I'm very much like, oh, I want to do everything and do all of this. And so when Jessica joined for the crypt, it's been weird because I'm used to like figuring out all of the challenges, all of the cast picture designs, all of the casting. Like even though I've had production, I always just like trying to do everything. And so when Jess joined, I was like, okay, I can like rid of a bit of my workload, but I also didn't want to like make her do everything, even though I
Mhm.
knew that she would gladly help. So I very much understand as like a host how it is to be like in Saturn's place.
We're
Um,
just setting our ways, B.
yeah, we just want to do everything and make sure it's perfect.
Right.
Yes, that Saturn is definitely nothing short of a perfectionist. In like the best way possible. Like it shows.
I'm very similar as well. Because like these are our babies who we're working
Mhm.
on like these seasons and putting all of our time and effort into it and our passion and want to make sure that everyone has fun in them. So I completely get wanting it to be like as perfect as possible. 'Cause for Big Brother, but without cameras and without a cash prize. So like
Mhm.
it's a lot of work, and I do think that some people underestimate the amount of work that goes into hosting. Um, Now back to the aisle. What has been some of like your favorite moments on the seasons?
Well, definitely my favorite part about the Isle is just the immersion, like all the extra things that I get to do, like the live tribal councils. I look forward to every one of them. I hate when I have to miss one. I just missed one the other night, actually. The challenges I get to type up, all of like even just like talking to the players like at challenge mats or like in their camp. It's just definitely a lot of fun just to interact with the game a little bit instead of just, being the host of it. I have fun with it.
Yeah, because the aisle, it really is like Survivor. Like it
Right.
has so many special aspects. Could you try to like explain it a little bit?
Yeah, so we have this thing called the morale system, which is supposed to sort of simulate like being on the game. So like if you do better in challenges, you might get more morale, like try morale, that is. If you lose challenges, you lose some, and then also players are going to have to, like stock food as a tribe together and like eat it proportionately to not run out of food, but to keep enough morale. And then, of course, tribal councils, if you get voted for, that's going to bring your morale down. So that is just one of the things that kind of brings like a lifelike touch into the game. Like I said, tribal councils are live. When I first came up with that idea, we weren't sure about it in the production lounge. I remember there's definitely some questions about it. The reason I wanted to do it right off the bat was just because I know when I've played Survivor orgs before, I don't like when I go to bed and then, I might wake up the next day and the plan has completely changed. I could go from being in the loop to being on the bottom. So that was the initial idea. I wanted tribal councils to be started and done in the same night so they weren't as stressful but more exciting like in the moment. Now they've just kind of turned into, I've worded them before as like our gladiator ring, right? It's like you're watching a tournament, live tribal councils, and it's just been fun. It's my favorite part about it.
I mean, live tribal councils sound incredible. I feel like I could probably like connect it a little bit to how the journey just happened, which we'll get into a little bit as well later, because even though I don't think it was planned to be as live as it was, it became very much live and competing and in the moment. I think that's why these things have gotten so successful because we're here playing and giving our all, and we don't have time to overthink things, and we kind of just have to go with our gut. And
Right.
while if you're doing like 24-hour tribals, half of the time nothing is being talked about anyways.
Hmm.
And it's like the final couple of hours that things actually get decided. So
Yeah.
I definitely think that the change you made there is really incredible. It's also probably why I've been burned out of Survivor Orgs, because at one point you've kind of done it. Like
Hmm.
you've kind of experienced every kind of tribal twist or every kind of redemption or every like swap thing. And I think with the Isle, it brings such a unique aspect to it due to the morale system, due to the way the challenges are and stuff, that it makes it less predictable, which I feel like is a general like theme with the network orgs, where like the format is always gonna like test you or make you kind of throw out things that you know.
Yeah, I think it honestly plays a lot into our community as well. We know our players, especially when we first launched the Isle, they're so used to, you know, us hosting the pyramid, which the pyramid never stands still. You're always adapting, you're changing formats, this, that, and the other. And so we wanted to, of course, Saturn wanted to host Survivor because that's like the love of his life. And so we knew we couldn't just do what everyone else does. We knew we had to put our unique spin on it. And so he started thinking of the morale system. We really dove into challenge design, which we kind of, coming off of season 6, had been lacking. A lot of app games made it onto our roster for season 6. And so we knew we wanted more, I guess, interactive challenges for the Isle. A lot of them stemmed from us going back and watching like challenge compilations on YouTube and doing our best to translate that into text-based games. And then the live tribals again has just been something that not a lot of orgs can do because I mean we want to be considerate of all time zones who play, but it's been really awesome. We just saw a fantastic use of our live tribals at our last tribal council where our season villain, if you would say, came up with a really awesome plan that I won't spoil in case anybody who is currently playing is watching. But it's just been so cool to see because I think you hit the nail on the head, V, in saying like people can get kind of stagnant in playing these standard formats like Big Brother, like the Challenge, like Survivor. And so to kind of bring a unique and fresh perspective from the tortured mind of Saturn Probst has been super super awesome to be a part of and play in, which I didn't think I would get the chance to play, but I can confidently say as a player and as a host, it's been fucking awesome.
Yeah, as a player myself, I came into Pyramid Season 6 knowing it was different, but the way I tackled it, I definitely underestimated kind of the meta. Because if you're gonna be that one person that's like trying to run the game and have connections with everyone, you can basically confirm that you will be at least trying to be taken out at one point.
Mhm.
Because the first floor is kind of challenges you might be in trouble. But the second floor is social mindfuck because if you win, you can't vote, but you need to have the right people to make sure your target goes. But then you also risk people that you're working with going, which is what happened to me. Um, so like, it's a really interesting way that kind of the meta of orgs has changed, where you can't just be like, oh yeah, I've got my group and we're gonna make it to the end, because that's just not that possible. Um, and I think also with how we've got the new like network rules being added with betrayers, with cloak and dagger, with diplomacy, like all either unique formats being added or formats who have existed with unique spins. It just will be forced to adapt, which is exciting. And before we actually get into the network itself, I have one more question because we've got some hints, some teasers to the pyramid. Could we get some hints and teasers for the Isle as well?
Ooh, upcoming for the Isle. So we are going to be on a little bit of a break after season 4. And that does suck. It's going to be, let's see, season 4 is going to end around March, so it'll probably be about 3 or 4 months, and I'm not looking forward to that. But I am going to be coming back with a pretty big season. I think people are going to be excited about it. Some people do already know kind of where we're going with it because I did try to put out applications for it before, and then I recalled them. But I will say, for the people that were around for those, it is going to be a little bit different, but it's still going to be exciting.
That honestly sounds really great. I would like to play season 5. I'm annoyed that I didn't apply for season 4.
There will be
Or
more
at least the
seasons to
future season.
come. Trust.
Yes.
I
Oh,
got out of season 3
exciting.
and came back to a full Isle timeline through the end of 2024. So I don't think Saturn plans on stopping anytime soon if he's not forced to. So
The
Yep.
thing is, that exact same thing happened with my production team and my seasons because literally I've got planned until season 20, which like I originally only had until season 10. And then once Jess joined, I think I had until season 15. I think like 2 days into Jess being a production, I had until season 20. And the thing is, when I joined production of Twist Fiverr, Crimson had already like made a whole roadmap of 100 seasons, all like numbered with themes. And I was like, Crimson, what drugs are you on?
he's
Like
on
that
that
was
Saturn pack.
insane. Yeah,
Yes.
truly. Um, but we've talked about it a little bit already. You guys made the network together, which is
Mhm.
kind of, I would say, like a hub server with a lot of different orgs.
Mhm.
How did you get with like the idea to make the network?
Well,
Um,
we got to shout out Shay first. He was also
yeah,
another co-founder. It was conspired in our little group chat that we have together between the three of us, and
the SS
um
ass.
I don't remember where the initial idea came from. I don't remember what we were talking about, but we wanted a place to bring sort of all of the players from the Isle that weren't in the pyramid. Because a lot of the initial people from the server, like Ava said earlier, we didn't even advertise the Isle anywhere else other than the pyramid. So most of the people in the first season were from the pyramid. But as season 2 and season 3 went on, we started to get a lot more server members, a lot more players that had never even heard of the pyramid. And so that's where I think it kind of started is we just wanted one place where we could bring both servers together.
Yeah, I think it was a combination of a lot of things. I mean, this was the
Yeah.
first season since season 8 where we hosted the pyramid in the main server and not in a separate season server. So we didn't really have a true hub anymore because the pyramid server was being used for the game. Um, and we had tossed the idea around a little bit, and I remember I was so bored at work one day, and so I was like, "What if we called it the network? Like that's kind of fun." Because all of our games are like the something. And so I I sent that to Shay and Saturn. Saturn, of course, comes up with a brilliant logo like 2 minutes after I send my message. Um, and we just got to work. I think our servers would not be where they are without our community, and we're so lucky to have the best community in the world. Um, and so we knew that anything that we did wouldn't have the backing for it, and so I think it's funny because I think this is the first project where Saturn and I kind of had pretty different visions for what we kind of wanted it to be, and we've kind of run into that issue a few times, but luckily we we're pretty good about getting on the same page once we realize we're kind of headed in different directions. But um, I don't. We had the plan for Betrayers because I had brought that up to Saturn, and I was like, I think it'd be cool if we hosted the Traders because we did want to do a big kickoff event just to incentivize people to join the server, and that's not just some like, oh yeah, here you can use a general chat for everyone. We wanted there to be things to do in the server, and so um, yeah, it was just again one of our like late night spur of the moment ideas that have turned into something incredible. So it's been a project that I've just had so much fun working on the past, what, Saturn, like month, 2 months, maybe.
Yeah, 2 months maybe. It's definitely been our best project so far.
Yeah.
I mean, when like the ping got made that it got announced, and then we of course had the Betrayers reveal, and then every couple of days another reveal of another project coming in. It was like, oh, this is cool because Betrayers already had like its more custom traders format because usually people just kept it to like, oh, DMs and alliance chats. And in this one, you couldn't. You literally were like forced to talk in the normal chats, which means you kind of had to be open with your cards or you were fucked, or like you couldn't be more sneaky. And then, of course, Journey got announced just now, which I loved. I got robbed, but I loved. Um, so what are you most excited about with all of these projects?
Um, I think there's like definitely two sides to this. I think one, it gives Saturn and I a lot of creative freedom, which I think is an environment that we both really thrive in. Because in the pyramid and in the Isle, you know, it's our one format, and the only thing we can really change about it is theming. And so with hosting these events, we can kind of do things that we want to do that we can't do in our normal server. So Betrayers, the journey, the deal, um, some events that I've been cooking up for when Saturn's gone. It's just been so much fun to kind of leave our comfort zones of our formats and kind of do things differently. Um, like we just announced this morning the network awards for this year, which is again something so spur of the moment we thought of literally last night. Um, and so that's something that's really exciting to kind of give back to our community a little bit who have given us just so much. And then the other side is uplifting that community and giving them platforms to host their own games, which Saturn has definitely been, I think, more involved on that front. So he can definitely talk about that. But people that have we love and have been in our communities forever, Bolivia hosting the diplomacy, Shane with Cloak and Dagger, Jackson, a recent alumni, Mads, Hellcat. It's just been really fun to see their ideas come to life with our help. And I think that's all we can really ask for is that our community is there for us and that we're there for them for sure.
Yeah, I
Yeah, what
think
about
you
yours?
said it perfectly, actually. Just the network is supposed to be like a creative outlet. Like we can do all these different types of games, and we can set them up just the same way we do other servers, but then they're not as big of a time commitment. They only take like a week. The Betrayers took about 2 weeks. And so we don't have to create like a server, get a bunch of people to join in, apply to it. Like for every game, the way we did the Isle, we can just have one central place to do it all in. And I think that has definitely been my favorite part. Obviously, the event I'm looking forward to most, we got The Betrayers 2 coming up April 5th.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have right now we have 5 other games that have joined us besides the Pyramid and the Isle. The first one was Jackson with the isolation, which is going to be our Big Brother format, but keeping the theme of the network. Like I have seen some of the stuff he has done behind the scenes, and it is crazy. Like the
Mm-hmm.
challenges he's doing, the theme that he's going for with this first season is just really dope, and like all the extra stuff he's putting into it. I'm very excited to see how it goes. Then we've got some custom formats. So we've got Bolivia with the diplomacy. And I think the thing I like about that one the most so far is just the team he's put together. Like the
Mm-hmm.
production team he's got going is incredible. I think they all work very well together. The Cloak and Dagger is going to be hosted by Shane, and that one is actually a format that he's been telling me about for quite some time. So it was just very cool to see that get turned into an actual project, not just an idea. And we've got our two newest ones that were released just around a week ago. The Cycle, which is, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, it's called Sequester, right?
Hmm.
A
Yeah.
YouTube, yeah, a YouTube
Yes.
game that's going to be hosted by Mads. I honestly I don't know much about that format, but I do know that Mads has a lot of experience hosting it, and she's probably one of our best new alumni, and I think she definitely has the passion to be hosting with us, so I'm excited about that. And Hellcat with the tournament is another idea that was pitched to me before the network, but he's it's another custom format, and it's taking inspiration from some of our other games and then putting them into its own format. So I'm excited to see where he goes with that. But I think he knows the direction he wants to go, but it's just gonna take a little more time. But I hope we can talk about that one more because I am excited about it.
Hmm.
I mean, all of those, I mean, sound amazing. I feel like when I saw Diplomacy like being released, I was like, "Ooh, Bolivia's hosting something," and that was my first like real like drive to it. And then I read the format, and I was like, "Oh, this is interesting,"
Hmm.
because I feel like what makes Diplomacy interesting is like it's such a highly social strategical game where
Hmm.
if you can't manage your threat level, you will be fucked. Because literally, you could be the most enjoyable, but people will start ranking you lower because you would start becoming a threat. So it literally would be like playing the circle, but with an actual like strategy behind it. And
Hmm.
then, yeah, go ahead if you want to.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think all of the servers that have come to be under like the network's umbrella are so reflective of their host. Like Bolivia hosting the diplomacy is just like, yes, it just makes sense. It's a format that you would look at and you're like, oh my God, of course Bolivia came up with this. Like, it's tailored to what he would be good at. Um, the lack of comps and the social strategy, like you said, it's just like so Bolivia. You can say the same thing about Cloak and Dagger. I mean, Saturn and I have both hosted with Shane before, and like it's just so Shane. And I think that it's just been so awesome to see people that we really care about and have worked with for a long time finally get a kickstart on things of their own. And yeah, that was just my little additive there.
No, yeah, I 100% agree. Even though I don't know all of the alumni, like I do think I've recently gotten back into the whole community. Um, like knowing Bolivia from even before the pyramid, I definitely like see his passion in it, and I see how much effort everyone is putting into these projects. Like I don't think you would literally make a sequester org without like being able to give it all to it due to how like dynamic every round has to be and how unique and one little twist could ruin the entire season. And
Hmm.
of course with like Cloak and Dagger and Betrayers and stuff, it is just all incredible. And like I'll say this again, I just played the journey, and even though like, oh, we're gonna have 24 hours and semi-live and it's gonna be fine. Ultimately it became pretty much live, and I think it becoming so live is what got me really into it. Because like I'll be very honest about it, I was not really planning to apply, and then Meg was like, "Hey, are you thinking of doing Journey?" And I was like, "Ah, I don't know." And then like literally was like, "Are you gonna ask me to play?" And she was like, "Yes." And I was like, "Okay, fine." And then Meg responded with, "You also know that if you said no, I would continue to ask you." Um, so I said yes. And then we did really well. Like we got second and then third and second, and then we had our downfall due to IRL stuff, which sadly we couldn't control as much. And then the final leg today, even though I got fourth and technically last in the finals, like it still was incredible. And I think the challenges that you made in Saturn, and I don't think A5 you have as well, so I don't want to like say only Saturn did, but
No, go
like
ahead.
it was an incredible time. And I really hope Jody 2 happens so I can play with Jess, because then I'll stand a chance. But yeah,
Yeah.
the final thing I kind of wanted to get into is something that originally started with Saturn. And then we kind of finished, which is, of course, the crossover between Pyramid and Twisted Challenge, which is the Crypt season 6. For those who are on like the network side listening to this, Twisted Challenge the Crypt was an idea that I originally had just based on like Egyptian mythology. And then Jess came to me being like, why don't you ask Pyramid to do a crossover? And at this time, Network didn't exist. Um, and so I asked Crimson if it was a good idea. Crimson said, yeah, go ahead. And so I messaged Saturn being like, hey, would you be interested in doing this? And quickly it became yes, which thank you. Um, and I think it was like half a year or like 5 months at least before I think even like official casting opened that I started working on this season because I knew how and so I was like, okay, Ava time. Because I already talked to you about it during Blood vs. Water Survivor.
Mhm.
Um, and then we kind of finished what needed to be finished. Like thanks to you, we got an amazing logo. Um, which it probably is my favorite logo so far for Twisted Challenge. Um,
Yeah, I'm coming
and
for your graphic design crown, Saturn. Watch out.
and also we kind of got the cast together. Um, now you both are playing on the season. Sadly, Ava, you got eliminated right before floor 2, but
Ugh.
Saturn, you are doing incredible. Um,
Final 13.
how did you guys think that this season would go? Like when you heard of it at first and then got into playing it?
I was super excited. I I guess my casting was a little unusual. I kind of just put all my all-stars in a chat in our server in like my era 2 all-stars and just like, hey, let's beat some twisted ass. Who wants to play this crossover challenge? Thankfully we got I think 4 of our monarchs back, which is incredible. Um, my big challenge beast came back for it. And some people who had just recently played season 7. So it was a lot of fun. Um, I of course asked Saturn to play because you can't have a game that represents the pyramid without him. And I had been up in the production room for quite some time, but I had been so busy with season 8 I wasn't really paying attention, and then we had some unfortunate drops. So like any good host, I was like, I'll play. Thankfully, V trusted me enough to have not remembered anything that we talked about, which I didn't, and let me play. So it was a lot of fun getting to play alongside some people. Um, the pyramid is nothing short of big personalities, so we came out with quite the bang. Saturn and I being in almost every floor 1 elimination. Um, so yeah, it was a lot of fun. I think Twistviver as a whole, like the Twisted umbrella, has been nothing but supportive of not only the pyramid but the Isle as well. Crimson is one of Saturn and I's really great friends. He is just an incredible host, and so I think it was the perfect crossover. It was bound to happen at some point, I think. The pyramid got to play in Battle of the Orgs, which was really awesome. So to have kind of a season tailored for the two of us going head to head, I think it's just been super awesome to watch. It was so fun to play. Um, so thanks for hosting that, V. You've done an incredible job, and I think all of our players have been having a really great time.
Thank you so much. I mean, when like the cast got made, like I didn't know everyone on Pyramid, but then when I saw like placements and being like figuring out who they were, I was like, oh, this cast is going to be stacked. Especially
Mhm.
when I saw the people who like applied on Twisted side as well. Like I never thought that I would get Courtney back, who's like the only 3-time winner in Twisted Umbrella ever. Um, I never thought I'd get Frey to even do this season, or that I thought JC would be able to play. And
King.
so when the cat, yes, you're the amazing partner of Ava. Um, so when I saw the cast on paper, I was like, oh, this is gonna be insane. But I honestly thought that the Pyramid team would be like pretty casual, and that the Twisted team would constantly be fighting. And then we've had the opposite. Which I mean, at least I'm very relieved that it's all game related because we've kind of come off a season, Besties Brawl, where a lot of the like fighting got very personal,
Mhm.
and I'm very relieved that even though there has been fighting here, that it stayed predominantly game. It's gotten close to getting out of hand, but it's been like incredible time hosting, and it's definitely a season that's going to be up there in the ranking. And we're getting to floor three very soon, meaning the game is going to change once again, which is probably one of my favorite aspects of this season because I try to merge the main concept of the pyramid with like constantly changing formats with what kind of makes Twisted Challenge so unique with having fun twists. Um, or like having it be a bit different from normal challenge orgs because like this isn't the normal challenge org where you can be inactive and do nothing. At least a lot of the time. And I think my favorite aspect so far definitely has been people trying to game the format each time and trying to like the amount of ties that we've had. This is record breaking. Like I've never seen so many people tying a vote, trying to figure out what happens, getting things to change through the ties. Like I think it was episode one that we immediately had a tie.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Like I've never seen that happen before, so it's like, okay, this is gonna be a great season. Now, to kind of end this interview so far, I had like a final question, um, which is, what are the things you're looking forward to the most with like all of the projects that you're working on?
Ooh,
Ooh, it's hard to
that's
pinpoint
tough.
just one. Yeah. Um, I mean, now that it's been announced, I would say the award ceremony. I think that's gonna be a fun one. It's the
Mhm.
reason I wanted to get that out now is so like people know what the awards are going to be, and like maybe that would influence how they play. Like they might go for one award over some others, but I don't know if that does that count as a project.
I would say so.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll say the award ceremony then.
What about you, Eva?
I have two. I Mads is like my newfound twin flame. I love her so much, and so to have another female host on the team has been really fun. I'm constantly surrounded by men in the host lounge, so it's nice to have another girl. Um, she's just awesome, and she's so passionate and dedicated for the cycle. It's just been really awesome to kind of help her with that behind the scenes before we launch. And then a project that is not public. I mentioned earlier that I love the challenge is maybe an event org that will be happening while Saturn takes his little breaky break that I think is the gasp is going to be really exciting. I'm super pumped for it. But I won't say too much. But everyone's been
We'll
asking
get
for
the
a challenge
reveal.
format from the network, and it may be coming sooner than later.
Well, that sounds so exciting. I'm so excited as well for the awards. And generally, thank you so much for, first of all, talking with me here and talking about basically your passion projects. Also for revealing the little hints for everyone else in future seasons. So if you're watching this, you'll get a leg up to everyone else. Um, and thank you so much for all of the hosting work and playing work that you've done as well with Twisted and your seasons. I think all of us alumni like can say that it's been incredible to be a part of the community and playing. Um, and I can't wait to see and play more of the network in the future.
Yeah, thank you
Yeah,
so much for having us, V.
yeah, thanks. It's fun to get our, like you said, our passion project out there to more people, and um, I think, yeah, it's just been great to get to kind of talk about it. You can get Saturn and I on a VC at any point, and we'll talk your ear off about it for hours on end. So it's been a lot of fun. We really appreciate you inviting us on.
Of course. So that was it for today's episode. Thank you everyone for listening. Soon we'll be coming with more episodes, of course, but today this will be the end. So thank you everyone. Bye.